All right. Hello, eighth graders. We are going to continue with chapter 5, Preparation for Independence. 5.1, The Great Awakening. Need for revival. Okay, because all men have a sinful nature, societies fall into states of spiritual decline. What does that mean? Well, since men are human beings, they have the nature of sin in their bodies, in their mind. So what happened? They were taking God for granted, and they were not worshiping like they used to. So by the 18th century, many churches in the American colonies failed to preach the gospel, and consequently many church members, including ministers, remain unconverted. These people attended church and practiced a cold, formalistic Christianity. So what does that mean? They were going to church just because it was a habit, but they were not worshiping God like it was supposed to. The land desperately needed a revival. The coming of revival. In the mid 1700s, both America and England experienced what you call a revival of biblical Christianity. In Britain, it was called the Evangelical Revival. It was also called the Methodist Revival because one of its results was the organization of the Methodist denomination by John and Charles Wesley. In America, it was known as the Great Awakening. An awakening is a revival of a nation level. The Great Awakening had profound, the far-reaching effects on the formation of history of the United States. So this was a very important event because it marked history in the United States. Okay, we are going to talk about a very special character, Jonathan Edwards. Jonathan Edwards was the son of a Congregationalist minister, and in 1727, Edwards became associate pastor of the Congregational Church in Northampton, Massachusetts. 2 years later, at the age of 26, he became senior pastor. In his sermons, Jonathan Edwards emphasized the holiness of God and the depravity of men. Not only that, but the necessity of personal salvation. It's also important to mention that in the mid-1730s, revival broke out in Northampton. With a short time, Edwards saw 300 souls converted. The revival soon spread to the other parts of the New England. In Enfield, Connecticut, in July 1741, Jonathan Edwards preached what has become the most famous sermon in American history, "Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God." As Edward read the sermon in his calm and straightforward manner, the Spirit of God began to move upon the congregation, and many of the souls that were there came to Christ through this sermon. He is also remembered as colonial America's foremost theologian and one of the greatest intellects our nation, in this case United States, has ever produced. Okay, so after all this revival or great awakening, what results did we get from this? Well, number one, thousands of sinners were converted and countless believers were revived. Number two, a new missionary spirit was kindled. Number three, new colleges were founded. And number four, the people's hearts were prepared for religious and political freedom. And it's also important to note that this revival or this awakening changed many lives. It gave people missionary spirit, and religious freedom was strengthened. Also, it prepared the soil for the political freedom also. Okay, now we are going to continue with 5.2, which is the French and Indian War. Rivalry in the river valleys. Like the Great Awakening, the struggle between England and France for empires in the New World also prepared the colonies for independence. So let's say that it was not a good thing to be in war, but it also brought preparation for independence. As the French colonies moving south from Canada met English colonies moving west of the Appalachian, the two groups clashed or they bumped into each other in the Ohio River Valley. While the English established colonies on the Atlantic seaboard, the French were busy in the interior of North American continent. They were especially interested in the rich river valleys of the Ohio and the Mississippi, which abound with fur-bearing animals. They also hoped to find valuable minerals wealth in these regions, especially like gold, silver, and copper, that could be shipped back to France. Okay. However, the number of the French in North America remained small compared to the number of the English, because the French government had strict policies concerning settlement in the New World. This war between the English and the French lasted from 1754 to 1763. The conflict stemmed from rivalry over territory, fur trade with the Indians, and fishing rights. These were the three main reasons why these people were fighting. The war became known as the French and Indian War. In Europe, this war was called the 7 Years' War. The war officially ended in 1763 with the signing of the Peace of Paris, which was a treaty. But what happened? They used all the money, and later on they had debts. So they tried to make up the money by taxing people, and all the people didn't like this very much, so they started a revolution. And later on in the book you will learn about this revolution. But as the end of this section, you are going to answer this questionnaire. Only 7 questions. You are going to write them on your notebook and answer them in your notebook also. When you are done, you are going to take a picture of your notebook and send it to my WhatsApp. And that's it for all. Have a great day.